LootBet, online esports betting. Dota, CSGO, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and many more. Bet on tournament matches or in-game events while viewing them live. Deposit using money, bitcoins, or even skins. Join LootBet now. Use the code you see here when you deposit and grab your bonus.
Don't know how to build a team from scratch or find good teammates? DreamTeam.gg, the ultimate team building platform. Find and connect with new players, coaches and teams. Manage and monetize your team. Get on fast track to advance from novice to amateur and, if desired, to professional gamer. Join DreamTeam.gg today.
Welcome back to the final match of the day here on the B stream. It is Astralis versus G2 coming up next. I'm Hugo. Joining me once again is Vendetta for this good matchup. And I mean, this really is a good matchup, on paper at least.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely is. I think it's going to be a good matchup, you know, not just on paper, but on the server as well. Obviously, there are a couple of asterisks to, you know, take into consideration. You have Astralis coming into their first line with their new lineup. Magic Boy obviously having joined them since the departure of Kirby.
Yep.
And on the side of G2, even though they have their full lineup, Shock's not being at 100%, you know, with scheduled surgery for his hand and so on. I guess we can't expect the same good old Shoxy as we would have done otherwise.
Yeah, definitely, right. And he is that star player alongside Kenny on the team to some extent. So it may limit them, but again, we have no idea to what extent. So we're going to have to sit back and watch. But I mean, Matt, just in my opinion, he's been impressive so far on this roster. You know, I've seen a little bit of them in Pro League, costed a few maps. He's been holding his own, again, online, so it's hard to say just yet. But coming into this one, you know, there's definitely potential that Astralis could reach the form that we know they can have. You know, this core, at least, has done great things. So, you know, it'd be nice to see them back up at the top.
Yeah, and one of the, I guess, not so much discussed things about the entry of Magic Boy into the team is the fact that it also leads to a couple of role changes within the team. And I think that's going to be a big difference maker as well, because with Kirby out of the roster and Magic Boy in, that means that Dupree gets to go back to his old and preferred role as pretty much like the dedicated entry. Even though he has done that while Kirby was in there as well, he didn't exactly have the same kind of responsibilities as well. So he feels much more comfortable with this lineup as it is right now than what he did in the past. And we've seen what Dupree has been able to do. There was a reason why, you know, the double Ds of Astralis were such a feared duo in Device and Dupree, and that's when Dupree was really in his comfort zone, and he's getting back to that now. And obviously, with that being the case, Device is back to full-time AWPing.
Yeah, and that's good at least. But either way, we've got an interview here on the stage with Parla, with a member from G2.
What is going on, everybody? I'm here with Kenny S from G2 Esports. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling great, thanks. And you?
Yeah, it's great to see you, Kenny. And now let's do a little recap for everybody watching on what happened yesterday against Renegades.
Yesterday against Renegades, we played great. I think Renegades has been struggling a bit because they have new players and stuff, so it's pretty hard for them to play a team like us, especially that we've been in pretty good shape lately. So yeah, last time we played them, they beat us, especially in Cobblestone, and yeah, we're just happy that we managed to get our revenge.
Yeah, and today you've got some pretty tough opposition. These guys are going up against Astralis. Give me an opinion on them as a team and how you guys stack up against each other.
Well, apparently Astralis has been pretty confident in playing good with their new player Magic Boy. I think they will have the confidence that they have a new player, but overall we're not scared. We've been practicing them a lot with the new player, and it went pretty good all the time. So I would say that we're confident.
All right, and having that experience practicing against them, how much can you use that information in a real match at a LAN?
Not much, to be honest. Practice is practice, but just the fact that winning practice against teams is always good for the confidence. So there is no much things to use out of it. But yeah, I think it's just about being confident because we've been doing practice. But except of that, practice doesn't necessarily mean anything.
All right, well, Kenny, hopefully you can carry that confidence on and have a good result. Best of luck.
Welcome back. Good interview with Kenny, so thank you for Parla for that. But yeah, I mean, coming into this game, right, two teams where we have a lot of question marks, obviously. G2, they got the 2-0 win yesterday versus Renegades. They looked good there. Astralis as well, again, coming into this event looking hot. Recent performance in Pro League has been very nice too. So, I think this is a pretty equal matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 3 maps.
Yeah, no, it very well could. I think, considering even though Shoxy isn't at 100%, it seems like he's still able to be able to contribute to his team, as you can see there in the highlights as well. It seems like everyone really from G2 had a pretty decent effort in versus Renegades. Obviously, not maybe the hardest task when you win 16-2, for instance, like they did on Mirage, or 16-8. So it does leave you, with an opportunity to step ahead a little bit. But no, it's a good sign to see, especially Kenny and Apex kind of doing what they do and building that confidence, because they are, emotional players who thrive off of the fact of that they do well to start things off. So yeah, from right to left, MBK, Body, Shocks, Apex, and Kenny. It's all familiar faces, obviously.
Of course. Would you say that this team is one some people question and say maybe they lack leadership, or at least the tactical side? They have the firepower. Maybe not leadership, maybe the wrong word, but in terms of the tactical side, that is where they struggle more so than at least the individual prowess department.
Oh yeah, I think that's pretty much just a common conclusion when you talk about G2. Really, it's never been a question about how good they can be individually. Shoxy, obviously, when he doesn't kind of force himself into being that in-game leader, tries to micromanage too much, he is one of the best players in the world. Just full stop. Same thing goes for Kenny. Apex, when he hits the stride, is probably the best entry fragger in the world. So there's a lot of talent on this side, and MBK is one of the best role players you can find. So. There's so much to fall back on, really, on these G2 boys. But obviously, it seems like at times they are their own biggest enemy. Obviously, they're notorious for not necessarily respecting CS economy as much as other teams, which leaves them into a lot of hairy situations, similar to kind of what we saw with SK on Inferno there on their CT side. Fumbling about, never really getting 5 players with a solid buy in order. That's kind of the norm for G2, albeit they have a phenomenal, I guess, success rate with still being able to win games and doing well, even though they have this kind of a tendency to go heavy on pistol blasts and so on. But I think they would be better off kind of conforming to the norm, really. That's what we saw when they won DreamHack Masters, for instance, that, they finally got a grip on their economy, and all of a sudden you have a G2 that looks incredibly hard to beat. So it's going to be fun to see whether or not they've kind of, adapted to that. We always see interviews every now and again from G2 members. It's like, this time we're doing it.
It's us. We're going to become the best. We'll be the best.
I think MBK at the start of the year was pretty, honest about everything. It was just like, you guys expect force buying and, fiddling around with our money. So.
Yeah, and I expect we're going to see a lot on that on Cash as well, which is the first map for this series. That's a classic. If we looked at old school Envious, back in 2015, and now obviously it's carried along the French scene. No matter where these players go, they love their A rushes with once Tech 9s, but now CZs on the A side of Cash. But moving on to Astralis, we do have an interview with Parla, so we'll be checking out that, and we'll be right back.
What is going on, everybody? I'm here with Andreas, also known as Zipex from Astralis. How's it going?
It's going very good. We're going to face against G2 in some moments. It will be very good.
No doubt. We'll talk about that very shortly. Firstly, can we recap everybody on your match against Liquid? 3 maps.
Yeah, I mean, first map was pretty straightforward. Won pretty easily, I feel like. Second map, I feel that we got off to a very good start. Didn't really close it out and did some pretty poor mistakes on the CT side. And third map, it was picture perfect, I feel. There is some miscommunications in the team now that we have changed some roles and stuff like that. So we're gonna work on that, and we'll be prepared for this match.
Indeed, and talking about this match, up next, like you mentioned, it's G2, French powerhouses. Both of you have been arguably the best teams in Counter-Strike at one point, in parts at least, and, you know, going up against them, what do you feel?
It will be a very tough match. I think it will be an explosive match. You know, they will do a lot of set strategies, like trying to catch up off guard and stuff like that. So we just have to be prepared, and we will be.
And with regards to preparation, does Magisk, being the new guy in the squad, is there extra pressure on his shoulders? How do you kind of accommodate him?
We take it off his shoulders. He can do whatever he wants, so he has a free roll.
All right, well, Andreas, best of luck. Looking forward to the match.
Well, that is Zipex from Team Astralis, and yeah, again, as you said, talking about the role changes, Maj just let loose to be free. You know, we've recently seen him depart Optic, where he was, I would say, the best player on that team as well, maybe alongside Mixwell, someone could argue, who was explosive at one point. But yeah, he looked strong there, and now coming into this roster with him being unleashed, that could be a real win, you know, or a key to success for Astralis.
Absolutely could, and you know, not surprisingly, Sivnix has good tabs on what to expect from a G2 side. And here we have the vetoes as well for the matchup. G2 instantly removing Train, followed up by Cobbleban from Astralis. And the first pick, as you mentioned, is going to be Cash on D2's end. Excellent pick versus a team like Astralis. Astralis is going to go with a pretty safe card on their end, Overpass, and follows is a ban on Mirage and Nuke, respectively, leaving us with the classic third mapper of Inferno.
Well, we just had it on Mousesports SK as well. It's very likely going to come up in this series. I think this is a 3-map series. Again, you know, you got G2 who were, you know, the French have been renowned for cash, as we know. Astralis at one point, the best team on Overpass as well. Last year we looked to. So these are going to be some close matches, I'm sure, or close maps. And Inferno, a huge possibility. Now that we have the veto and everything, now we have all the information. What do you think this is going to go to? Where do you think this is going to go?
Oh, I'm kind of leaning towards, and this is a bit of a risk, I guess, going with the 2-0, and that would be in the favor of G2. And that's mainly because I haven't been able to see that much of Astralis. Obviously, they've just played a couple of Pro League games.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had their game versus Liquid yesterday, which was in a positive surprise.
Bit shaky though.
Yeah, and G2 on their end, you know, they look solid versus Renegades. They have been, you know, more up and down, I guess, versus people in Pro League, but they have more to fall back on, I think. And going into Cash, as you can see on their screen, not a map that necessarily favors Astralis. They barely play it at all. That might change, obviously, with a new player coming into the lineup, but, you know, given the history that they shouldn't be too well practiced of it on it, considering the fact that Magic just came into the lineup. G2, as you said, they've played this since release. It's literally just been Cash following them along, you know, all the Frenchies.
Yeah.
As for Overpass, I think here, this is why I think they could be, you know, a potential to sneak away with a map win here or 2-0 for G2, because they have more playtime on the map than Astralis have on Cash. I think there's a big likelihood of that potentially going the way of the Frenchies. But
yeah, certainly.
Yeah, but even then, you can see, you know, past results. They have ran into Astralis at one point and obviously lost pretty handedly. But, you know, that was before the roster changed and whatnot. So things can definitely change. But, yeah, no, I wouldn't be too surprised if it goes to a third map, I have to be honest. But 2-0 wouldn't necessarily be a massive shock.
Well, I went the opposite of you last time, and that seemed to work out. So I think I'll do it again. I'll pick Astralis, but I think if
2-0 Astralis,
no, they're not winning Cash easily at the very least. If they do take it, that would be phenomenal. But it's going to require a huge effort. Of course, the stats only tell half the story, so we don't really know how much behind the scenes work they have been doing on this map. But as you say, you know, they can only come into this so prepared because of the addition of Magis. And even if they do let him loose and try and run their 4-man setup, it's still going to be a bit different. So Astralis, you know, coming into this first map, they're going to struggle, I would expect. But, you know, with us having low expectations, I'm sure they will exceed them.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, if you always have low expectations, you'll never be disappointed. So that's kind of what we're going into here for Astralis. And yeah, I think you're on point with what you mentioned, the fact that there's a limit to how prepared you can be coming into this with the limited amount of time they had. And if you're gonna pick out a certain amount of maps to practice on with Magisk when he joins the team, it's probably not going to be the map you haven't really touched at all.
Yeah, for sure.
In the past either, because that just doesn't make sense. That's a project for a different time in the future. So yeah, no, looking forward to see if Astralis has anything really to showcase here. We know that G2 on average are a very strong team. Have a tendency to be a little bit shaky on the CT side of Cash. That was a problem for them in the past. But the G2 are a very flip-floppy team in that sense. You could either have potentially the best team in the world, or something far from it. But I still think that their average performance on a map like Cash should be enough to see off Astralis.
Yeah, one of the good things about the map, Cash, at least for Astralis coming into this, trying to look at the positives, it is a plug-in and play map. It's a map you can just kind of, you can. I don't want to use the word pug, but you can more pug it than a map like Overpass or a Nuke, for example, or Cobble, right? These are maps you really need the executes on. You can't just pug that map. Cash, they're gonna be at a bare minimum level, which will surely help them get some rounds. And hey, I'm still gonna call Astralis for a 2-1 here, but to be honest, G2 are a scary threat in this first one.
Yeah, they definitely are. It's going to be interesting to see how much limitations there are on Shocks, obviously, with his injury as well, how much that's going to come into play, whether or not Apex and Kenny are going to be able to hold the mantle. Also, really interested to see what MBK decides to do with his money, because he's had a really weird tendency to pick up the Krieg a whole lot in online play as of now. And funnily enough, we do have the other guy in the world who does that in Magisk over on the Astralis side. So it's a bit of a Krieg duel going on here. I think in total, we've probably seen them get 4 kills over their entire career with that weapon. So still not seeing any justification for buying it. But, one of them is going to come out victorious.
I don't know about you. I'm all down for a Krieg match. I'm totally
sure
okay
for the sake of the entertainment, absolutely, I'm game for it. But I would really like to grab a hold of MBK one of these days here in Kiev and actually ask him what goes through your head when you keep deciding to buy this up. Because one of the Pro League games I did manage to catch, he bought a Krieg on every single buy round, and on the T side managed to get a total of 2 frags. And it obviously didn't pan out very well for G2. So
2 frags. Is that not enough?
No, I kind of would have expected a little bit more. I'll be honest. I set, pretty high standard for.
Well, you should set low expectations, and you'll always be impressed.
Exactly. Well,
Matt was actually saying that yesterday. He was saying that he was on the plane with MBK. I'm not sure if it was to here or to somewhere recently, and he was going to ask him, and he completely forgot. So someone needs to do that. Someone needs to find out.
We'll do some investigative reporting with MBK.
Analysis.
Tomorrow, full detailed analysis on why MBK keeps buying this weapon. And we could probably grab a hold of Magisk as well and figure out what his reasoning for it is.
I feel like he's more effective with it than MBK is, I've got to say.
He's had more training with it, right? Like, he started picking this up quite early on compared to everyone else.
I mean, even back in, before Optic, I think we saw him with that. So, yeah, definitely had some more playtime. But MBK looking to learn from the master. But still, even with his lackluster Krieg results, they are still coming into this game as the expected victors, foremost, I guess you could say. Yeah. And that is off of recent performance. But, hey, there's huge question marks, and there's definitely potential for upset here. If you want to regard it as that, we're into the 9th round, though, on the first map. Obviously, G2's pick, if you don't know Counter-Strike. The Frenchies love this map. And in fact, they love the T side, so it'll be interesting to see who wins this and what they pick.
Yeah, well, I'm starting off pretty decently for Astralis, and they're going to have the choice of side, if nothing else. And, considering, the state they find themselves in, playing on a pretty hostile turf, that's all they can hope for.
Well, let's wait and see where they decide to go on this one. They will be, in fact, opting. Is that for the T side? Oh no, it hasn't restarted yet. Okay, so we haven't got it.
We're thinking this over.
I'm excited. I'm excited. The fact that
I'm really hoping like we pan the camera over to Astralis and we see them flipping a coin like G2 did with
Didn't
map
we see
vetoes.
That before from G2?
G2 did that with a map veto, which is absolutely ridiculous.
With a veto?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the case was that they had decided on a map secretly amongst themselves, regardless, and then just decided to flip it just for the fun of it. But I can't even be sure with these Frenchies, so. Remains to be seen. All right. Well,
pulling out the strat book is Zonic. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't look like a book.
The digital strat book.
The future of strat books.
Yeah. Nothing holding them back in terms of tech, at least. Remains to be seen what kind of plans there. And, you know, going into a map like this, you can always talk about how much you want to focus on your own game if you don't have your own game on a certain map, right? Like if your entire game plan is going to be based around anti-stratting. And I think G2 is probably one of those teams that are really tough to anti-strat against, simply because of the, not necessarily random tendencies, but by how many contact plays they love to do. Pretty much, as you said, you know, they're renowned for doing these rushes towards A, where they literally just walk with 4 people right behind the smoke into A main, one pop flash, and all of a sudden it's just full-on chaos, and that's where they thrive.
I mean, that's exactly what Zipex said in the interview as well, right? I expect this to be an explosive match.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a lot of set executes from G2, especially on this one, and some very aggressive force buys as well. But look at this. This is nice to get a little view into the
some
eye of
drawings here.
Sonic. Very interesting.
It's over towards the B bomb site, though, so whether this is, you know, the white circles there are going to be Molotovs or common spots, maybe that
it looks like a CT setup. That looked like a CT because it was arrows pointing from CT spawn to different positions.
Question is if it's, you know, their own CT setup or if it's, you know, a
G2's.
typical pistol setup for G2 maybe. Remains to be seen. We're going to keep an eye out for that, at least, once we get going. But Astralis really taking their time about picking sides here.
I think that's totally fine. Again, you're coming into the game. G2 are, well, I can see on the other monitor, MBK's just deathmatching. He's just killing all of the AFK Astralis members with a Glock or a pistol of some sort.
This could have been time for him to practice the AUG.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just putting it out there.
Gonna need it.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's practicing with a Glock on CT side. Maybe they're expecting to get T side start.
He's going to do one of those weird things where he buys a Glock on the CT side just to really throw people off.
I mean, this isn't 1.6. You can't do that anymore.
No, but, you know, changing the game. All that good stuff.
Well, Astralis look ready. They've gone over whatever their plan is, at least for the pistol round, or G2's plan for the pistol round, and they are just going for the huddle before we begin with this game. Thank you for sticking with us. And obviously, for those who just tuned in, this is the last game of the night on the B stream. I'd be interested to know how the other games went as well. I might check that out. But
well, I mean, I know from the first map that was playing on the main stream, that was Gambit versus Na'Vi. And Na'Vi managed to eke out a 2-1 victory in that matchup. So they're sitting at 2-0 right now. So obviously, Simple maintaining his good form. And from what I could tell, just very briefly, it seemed like Edward had a pretty good series as well. So good to see one of the old boys on that squad, and that still remains, I should say, having a good outing.
Yeah, definitely. And the map for this, maps for this series as well, for those unaware, it's going to be kicking off with Cash as G2's pick, Astralis moving to Overpass, and then, if we need it, Inferno. But let's forget all that. Straight into Cash we go. We'll be jumping into the pistol round. Astralis kick things off on the T side here after winning that knife round, and G2 on the CT side. Maybe Astralis kind of trying to anti-strat G2 by going, we don't want you on the T side. But
that could be. And I mean, I did mention the fact that G2 in the past have had weak CT sides. And obviously, if that's something Astralis keep in mind and they can get off to a great start, maybe that flusters G2 a little bit. Remains to be seen. Starting off with aggression coming in from Apex here, wants to get some information towards A main, goes flash, finds 1 kill on a jumping glaive, not able to find the second onto Dupree, but Kineas and MBK at the right spots at the right time, able to wrap around. Only Sipnik's left.
yeah, and only utility as well. No armor on this man. Maybe he'll get the flash out eventually. There it is. Smoke can cover the cross as well. And the second flashbang here, but with the bomb in the open, with all G2 members in the site knowing exactly where he is, how much can he really get done? Attempting the jumping shot, but that's just optimistic at this point. And he may even get wrapped from the backside as well. G2 just sitting patiently on the bomb, and I like this. Not over-aggressing, not hunting down this kill. They haven't pinned in a corner. There's no reason for them to at least chase and allow him to get close up with the Glock. He's got to bring the fight to them, and as he tries to do so, flash over the top to chase body again.
Should have done the bloom flash. Missed opportunity. Could have potentially flashed both MBK, actually, and Kenny by a truck, but still going to find MBK there, so creating some space for himself. He does still have an immense amount of time to work with here.
I mean, he's playing this right, you know. He's not rushing out into the fight. He's just sticking and seeing, you know, do G2 overexpose? Do they try and hunt down this kill? If so, can he grab them? And can he grab the bomb as well? Because he's trying to go for it as well. 30 seconds left, so time really is starting to become a bit more of an issue. He's got Kenny pinned. There's the shot. There's a second kill, but body. Instant trade, and luckily so, because that came down to a 1v1 and it really shouldn't have.
Yeah. Well, Sipnik is just probably, you might be the best clutch player in the world, like to play these like 1vx situations. I can't remember from what event it was, but they did like a bunch of interviews or had 10 quick questions to a bunch of players, and when the question came out, like, who do you hate playing against in a 1vx situation, everybody listed Sipnix.
Really?
Literally everyone. It's just like across the board, tons of respect for that guy. They know how incredibly good he is at playing those situations, but Body manages to maintain composure and secure that pistol round for G2.
Yeah, now SMGs, but mainly rifles here on the CT side. Astralis put together a couple of pistols and a bit of utility on the man himself, Zipnix, but only a Molotov and a smoke. He's actually set up towards B on the outer side, holding this default, waiting for the aggression from G2. Interested to see where this utility is going. Could be into the vents to force out a player, but he is the one towards B main, which makes me question that.
It seems like he's moving his way towards mid, actually, so he might actually... Well, he might not have a chance to even use any of these nades if he gets caught out. Takes a little bit of damage from Body. Shox is playing close up underneath the boost as well, but Astralis for now are just waiting for somebody from G2 to go aggressive, and it's not quite going to work out. Device does find Kenny, but before that happens, 2 members had gone down, and Shox follows it up with the frag onto Glaive. So Sipnix seemingly not going to be able to use any of his utility. He's just going to have to rely on the firepower of the Deagle.
And if he goes down here as well, the bomb gets dropped on the top, and I mean, I don't think Device is going to hit the strafe with 30 seconds left, so they need to hit their shots instead as they wait for this push out through mid. G2 trying to challenge here with the rifles they have. Zipnix, he's walked back towards A, and that's uncovered right now. Device is distracting enough for Zipnix to go for this play. Could he even get the bomb down? He has a smoke, he has a molly. If he catches a kill, he certainly could. There's Body dead. MBK spotted as well, trying to cross, and Zipnix just trying to find the angle. 14 seconds left. He needs to get this planted if he actually wants to realistically clutch this round, but Apex is coming from the back lines. Zipnix finds him, looking for more, but MBK shuts it down. So G2 back in control, but maybe a bit more costly than they would have liked, considering that was a 5-on-2.
Yeah, definitely more expensive than it should have been. Sipnix doing a good job finding 2 frags there at the tail end of the round. So definitely making his worth out of his buy there, even though it didn't get to use either the molly in a proper fashion, but yeah. Ooh.
Reinvestment from Astralis here. That's a dangerous move. Obviously, they got damage off in the previous round, but G2 clearly not expecting this, running 3 SMGs, a FAMAS and Kenny on the USP as he saves for that AWP. There's no way they're going to know this is coming from Astralis. If they go for this quick B play, there's a really good chance they could upset this one.
Yeah. We see the big risk here is that if Astralis end up losing this one, their money is going to be all over the place. Luckily, they do get that money or loss bonus. And already, Body has spotted out Sipnix on top of the boost.
Oh, I think Shox just saw the leg of Glaive as well. Just holding the angle, waiting for him to peek into it, but Glaive is not biting just yet. Magis is also in B main. So actually, Shox is in a bit of a compromising position. While he doesn't know it, he's actually surrounded by players. If he goes for this aggressive fight onto Glaive, there's instantly a trade coming through from Magis, so they've got to watch out. They may actually double peek this as well. Magis rounds the corner, and Shox hits a shot. But will Glaive be ready for it? I don't think so. Astralis down a man, and clearly no plan in sight. They're just waiting for G2 to walk into their guns, but that doesn't seem to be happening. Finally, the first kill comes through for the Danes as Glaive takes down Shox in mid. But again, there are no guns to pick up here for Astralis. They've got to play with these pistols because it's just SMGs for G2, and they are mowing them down on B. Bomb dropped, Glaive last man up, and as you said, the force buy doesn't work out, and now their money really is in a bad place.
It really is. And the only redeeming factor right here is the money loss bonus that they're going to be able to get, but obviously still not going to be enough to get AKs on the board, and Body closes out the round, so decent amount of kills onto the SMGs as well. 4 out of 5, not bad, and you can see the money looking pretty good on the French side. But, maybe Astralis feel like this is the way they have to approach it. Take chances like this if they want to have a shot at beating G2 on a map that they're very unfamiliar with compared to their opponents.
Well, just P250s here, though. We'll wait for that loss bonus to kick in. The one good thing about that double fours is it means they'll have more utility when it comes to the real buy rate. They'll have potentially an AWP because the loss bonus is built up as a result. Yeah. As a flip side, it does mean they're going to be 4-0 down before we even see AKs in the hands of this T side, but they have found a pick this time. Magis has taken down Shox early on in mid or aggressive, but that should be it here for the Astralis side. Well, you'd like to hope. Body, he's going to push up, doesn't check the corner, luckily does react in time, and he finds one. MBK to support as well, and the bomb dropped. Astralis definitely not in control of this round, as you would expect.
And once again, the aggression from The remaining G2 members comes flying around from all corners, and Kenny S with a backstab to close it out. So 4 rounds in a row for G2, obviously to be expected considering the buys that we saw out of Astralis. But as you mentioned, that op comes out, even with utility. No armor though, not even light kev. So Device have to deal with potential aim punch. There we go.
And lots of SMGs as well, which means that's far more prevalent. If G2 keep running this aggro mid setup that we've been seeing with Shocks pushing down, then yeah, there's a danger for Device if he goes for that pick. Luckily enough, he's just sat in main with Dupree. And Astralis establishing an early default. We've got Magus up in Squeaky as he does love to play. Zipex outside of B as well. And just a fairly passive hold for Astralis to kick off the round.
Yeah, just setting up on a default. Again, just awaiting any potential aggression coming up from G2. It's not going to be the case. They've already set themselves up in pretty comfortable positions in mid here. Bit of a crossfire between Shocks and I believe that's Kenny actually in a bit of an unorthodox position with an op.
Yeah, that's dangerous if they boost up as well. It's a hard shot to hit, especially with his teammate dead. Kenny gives away his position, but he only gets a tag to Device. 10 HP left on him, and Kenny looks for the close-range shot. This is a really hard position to be in. Zipex is going to run out as well, and he'll grab the kill as Kenny's burnt. Now 2 entries here for Astralis. The boost up from Vents as a response, but that finds nothing. Zipex knows there's another man in B. He hits it as MBK goes down, and now Zipex sitting on 3 kills. Astralis in full control of this round.
Yeah. Utter domination, barely taking any damage. Obviously, Device goes down to the, or loses a bit of HP from the leg on Kenny, but yeah, dream scenario for Astralis, managed to keep everyone alive. It's going to mean they won't be able to buy up even if they were to lose this round. And, well, I guess the one unfortunate side for them is the fact that G2 had such good luck. Well, luck is probably not the right word, but they did such a good job of handling their anti-ecos outside of that one first anti-eco that their bank is pretty solid at this point.
And it allows for the double AWP as well, so that's brought in very early to this game. Obviously G2 a team that do like to utilize it, but we don't see Shocks on that second AWP. Instead it's MBK. Device posted up towards A early on as Astralis look for this pick. It's a similar story for G2, who put their AWPs in position so they can at least get opening frags. Got MBK up in the vent room, and also Kenny S posted on the back of the A bomb site as well. So Device definitely has to be careful while going for this pick. G2 give up the mid-aggression that they've been showing so far this map, though. It's only Shocks back towards the white box, and no one up in the vents either. So Astralis definitely an opportunity to take mid if they were looking towards there, and I think Device certainly is. The smoke's down, though. That'll delay it for a few more seconds.
Yeah. So I think the boost is coming out, though. Or it was, at least for a minute. But it seems like Dupree decides to go towards A main. Device, on the other end, is going to get boosted up. Still no commitment from Astralis, though. They've had the similar approach in both of their gun rounds so far. Just holding back, setting up in a default, awaiting any sort of reaction. And okay. Ooh. That tag is actually, well, I'm not sure if that was meant to be as a bit of a bait, but obviously that's something the body can hear.
Yeah, I don't know if he pushed because of that, but the flash came pretty quickly, so G2 may be setting up for it anyway. Now they've got 2 players on the A site, but Device gets a shot through smoke. Shocks caught at the back, and they're not even going to commit to here. G2 slow on the rotation, but it doesn't matter because Astralis have B control in the form of Zipex. He's pushed up. Apex going to begin to fall back, but he realizes he has to push because there's only 15 seconds left. They got a pick on A. They maybe should have pushed with it because now Apex can completely shut this down. There's the first. If he gets one more, maybe they can win this round. Pre-firing lands, and he will go down, but is there time for the plant? Astralis need it straight away, and I think they've just got it, but that came down to the wire. Even Kenny goes down, but Astralis making my heart beat.
Yeah, a little bit unnecessary excitement there from Astralis. Apex doing a really good job with the pre-fire there as well, though. On to Sipnix to give them a shot at the round, but obviously Shock's going down through the smoke, and Body potentially getting a little bit baited by the tag from Dupree.
Potentially.
Regardless, those 2 opening kills were all Astralis needed to force rotations over.
I feel like the flash in main was so quick from the site that I
might have
don't
been
think
just something they were planning to do regardless, yeah. It's not
so
unlike G2.
Yeah, true.
Oh, another buy-up coming in. MBK going to get the perfect flash into his face, and Apex is not able to pounce on the distracted Astralis members. There's 2 players down already. Shocks just dropping immediately in to the bomb site. Glaive, though, fully aware of what's happening around him, and that leaves Body and Kenny pretty much with no hope of setting up for a retake. They're just going to have to hold on to these 2 weapons. And now, with so many players surviving on the Astralis side, they do have the luxury of potentially going for a bit of a hunt here. And you can already see 2 of the Astralis players moving on out. Well, Device is going to get caught out by Kenny. The bait from Glaive doesn't exactly work out as intended.
We've seen that a lot today, though, haven't we? We saw
Yeah.
Fallen towards, was it Window and
mid, yeah.
Mirage, and we saw a bait cross from whoever, Stiko or Robs, and then Oscar peaked second, and Fallen still shot Oscar instead of the bait player.
Yeah.
Nice work from Kenny. We'll be able to get away with this gun, it seems. Astralis don't want to chase too much because they know G2's money isn't in the best of states after 3 rounds in a row. So realistically, G2 shouldn't buy around this. I say shouldn't because we never know what G2 are going to do with their money. But
I mean, they did that buy they just had in the previous round wasn't exactly a pristine buy, but they went for it. And they would have a more or less similar buy in this kind of a scenario, so I wouldn't be too surprised actually if they buy up. Could have both Body and Kenny dropping UMPs or FAMASs to their teammates if they want to do so, but yeah, some restraint coming out of the French side here. Just going to be Deagles and ZZ to round things out. No armor or no nades picked up. And you'd hope to see Kenny get aggressive. And it seems like Kenny's going to push out through the smoke here on B. He's not going to have anyone to challenge him, though.
When you only have 2 guns in play like G2, you've really got to force that pick. You know, these rifles, this AWP, it has to find early frags, so that's why Kenny goes. Shock spots players up in main as well, but won't be able to take the shot. Astralis is still in control of this side of the map. And actually, G2 going to be pre-rotating Kenny back over. They won't save that gun dropped by Xyp9x, but they've at least got 5 players on this A-bomb site. If Astralis commit here with barely any information, this is so dangerous because G2 are literally stacked on the plant spot. They're not peeking. They're not giving away information. Kenny jumps on top of the box. He gets a shot to Dupree, and the Deagle works out for Shocks as always. Astralis now down to 2 members, and they are going to panic and run back towards the B-bomb site.
That's Astralis playing into the hands of G2. This is exactly what they wanted. Kenny has just showing presence towards B with an AWP. It's obviously a challenge you don't necessarily want to take if you're Astralis. So moving over towards the A-bomb site, runs into a complete stack from G2. And gets picked apart. They do get the bomb plant here, though, so still within a shot of actually doing something. But as you can see, weapons picked up on the side of G2. The one redeeming, or the one benefit here that G2 has is the fact that the G2 members do not have armor on 3 of their players.
Or nades, or a kit. Very limited for G2, despite the 2-man advantage. They need to hit their shots. Glaive could shut this entire round down with his position. Drop in through the vents. Oh, Device isn't watching it. Miscommunication between him and Glaive potentially as he expects Glaive to have his back covered, but he doesn't. MBK finishes off the round, and G2, nice retake. They wait for everyone to get in position before they commit, and while it takes their time to get actually onto the bomb, they'll get it just in the nick. So defuse on literally the final tick there as well, 0.5 seconds remaining, but hey, they won the round.
Totally calculated, of course.
That's it.
But yeah, no, that did take a bit of a time to set up, but really well done. And well, we talked about the Krieg Wars that's been going around, and Magisk is going to be the first at-bat. Going to be interesting to see if he can find anything with it. So far, hasn't really been able to connect with too many bullets, sitting on 2 kills. Maybe the SSG could turn things around for him.
And a double or back in play from G2 as well. They pick it up off bodies in the previous, and wow, that boost is a big ballsy play from Astralis. The Molotov goes down, they run through it anyway. 2 players burnt up to half health, and Body, he shifts while he's shooting, and he goes down. Luckily enough, Kenny's there to trade, so G2 don't leave that fight without at least a 4v4, but Astralis in the meantime get a lot of mid-control. Look at Dupree's position. Magis even going to join him as well, so at this point they can do a lot. They can split through the connector, they can work their way up highway, but G2 are obviously aware of this. Shocks, jump spotting, making sure Astralis don't have that control. And look at this rotation, setting up for the retake on A while putting pressure on B. I like this from G2. It's a good setup because it means, you know, they can go towards B. If Astralis hit B, they'll have enough members to defend. If they hit A, then they retake.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. The only thing they need to do is to make sure that A retake is, you know, is somewhat viable, is holding on to the Molotovs as long as possible. And this is similar to what we saw Mousesports do on Inferno versus SK, just leaving Oscar and Banana, having that second guy who initially played B rotate back towards A and stack up on that side. So similar concept, and definitely the right choice to make here from the Frenchman.
But early nades used to stop this presence for Astralis, and Magis already spotted. Tag down to 13 in the leg, and Device with the wide face will take down Shocks. A big kill. The issue with that setup for G2 is they didn't have the connector, so that allows Dupree to kill Kenny. And with that pick, Astralis may consider rotating, wrapping all the way back round again. They expect maybe this is a B setup, and with Magis still here, he can do work. Nice shot with the Krieg as well.
Onto NBK, of course.
Oh, that's ironic. There's definitely going to be something in the chat after this round.
Yep. Oh, nice connection there from Magisk, finally getting on the board here on Apex. Looking to see if he can get revenge for his fallen teammate. This gets spotted out, and Mad just pinpoint accuracy there. Really well done.
Just showing G2 who's the boss here with that gun. But yeah, I like the reaction from Astralis. I was going to say, you know, Dupree in mid, if he pushes connected, the round's completely over, right? Because Kenny gets caught out. Shox wasn't watching it. He was actually up on Heaven, so the one player that could have had that role of watching CT, but obviously they wanted a bigger B defense. That was the whole point of the setup.
Yeah.
So unfortunate for G2, but they will piece together a buy here. Double AWP, Armless on Shox now instead of on MBK. CZ on Apex and UMP on Body. Definitely far from optimal.
It definitely is. And the question is whether or not Astralis are going to take this into account, whether they're expecting, well, probably not expecting an eco. They are playing against G2 after all. But if they're going to go back to that passive default setup and just try to milk out as much utility as possible from G2 here.
Look at this setup towards Highway, though. 4 players here for G2. They don't want the mid-control, but they want the ability to fight Astralis if they try and take it. Now they're going to get aggressive and push up with it as well. Molotov down, and this has got to be a boost from Apex. Get Body up on top of the boost as well. There's lots of utility raining over, so G2 just establishing that no one's already up there for Astralis. You never want to, you know, let go of crouch and just be head-on with a player with an AWP. That's not fun.
It definitely isn't. Well, he's still not deciding to move forward, but with the Sipniks making elephant noises here, might be an opportunity. Does get dinked though, but no kill. So going to be tough for Body to get any additional information here. Kenny does spot out one player, so they can start to make assumptions that this is going to be an A execute. And, well, Body and Kenny both find the frags of the initial people they spotted out. So it's all up. The jig is up. Astralis need to move in towards the bomb site.
Wow, what a shutdown, though.
Yeah.
Great work from the flank of Body. That was especially important. The issue was there, Astralis had no time. They had to commit towards A, so you could see Glaive watching his back after Body got the kill into Zipex, but he realized he had to hit A. He had to get out of A main and get onto the site while their smoke was down because the utility was limited. So nice work from G2. They get it done with the limited buyers. We know them to do so, and now they're pretty well equipped. They get the reward. They get everything, in fact.
Yeah.
MBK slightly lackluster nades, but everyone else makes up for it. And Astralis, of course, they still have some cash to play with, but it will be their last buy for now.
Important round for Astralis. And honestly, off of their defaults, as Device picks up Body there in mid with a good peek, they have been taking quite a lot of time actually just set up for anything at all, regardless if it's a contact play or if it's an execute towards any of the bomb sites. They have really waited it out to see if there's any aggression coming up from G2 to the point where it's not necessarily G2 putting a stranglehold on Astralis and choking them and forcing them into one bomb site. It's Astralis kind of doing it to themselves. So that could be something very dangerous to think about going forward for Astralis. They might need to have a change of pace at some point to keep G2 guessing.
Yeah, now the question is, with Astralis finding this pick, where did G2 set up? How do they do it? We've seen a lot of unorthodox and different setups from G2 so far this map, and Astralis need to work out exactly what this one is. In fact, it's 2A, and they're going to gamble it. Smoke out, no info, trying to cross towards the site. It's Zipex to jump up, but Kenny's rotating through the highway. They've got to watch out. Zipex does manage to take down Apex, and that's a good smoke as well. It shields them from highway, so Kenny can't get the shot off to actually take the player on top of the box. Astralis will get onto the bomb site, and with the bomb down, this is perfect. Even with the flank from Device catching MBK rotating through the connector. And now Astralis, 4v2 post-plant, 2 AWPs in play. Magis won't let Kenny save. He shows him which scope gun is the best, and Shox is going to miss his shot as well. He'll get hunted.
He's going to go down as well. And honestly, quite surprised to see how G2 dealt with that situation, because you could see the second Shoxy gets smoked off his angle, he bails out. He's out of there. He's never coming back. He's setting up for the retake on A. While Apex decides to sit still on the bomb site, he's obviously going to get jumped on from about 19 different angles, which is impossible for him to deal with. So at that point, you have to question whether or not Shoxy made the wrong decision falling back, or if Apex made the wrong decision staying. In any case, I think when Shoxy bails out and Apex dies, the best case scenario for G2 is to just hold on to the weapons that they have. Kenny kind of desperately trying to save, but Shoxy should have just gotten way out of dodge at that point.
I'm surprised G2 even eco this as well, because this has been back and forth resets for the last 4 rounds. This is typically a round where most teams, especially a team that loves force buys, would invest in pistols and armor, then eco the next round. G2 taking this one very reserved. Obviously, the loss bonus yet to build up, so they won't get a buy, unless they want to force up next round, which would really be pushing it, I would say, with $1,900 loss bonus. But
who knows?
See.
It's G2 after all.
Yeah, I wouldn't like a buy next round, to be honest. But I mean, we'll see, because it's very strange that they went so reserved with the buy here.
It is, but might be new look G2 showing some restraint. In any case, it's going to be Astralis to pick up a 6th round. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed by how well Astralis are getting along. Not necessarily showing too much creativity or innovation in what they're doing with the T-side play, but for a team that hasn't necessarily played all that much, they seem to have the basics down pretty nicely.
And now a pause coming out, I assume G2s. Where do they go with this money, right? Because they have more than I expected. They can buy, but not only will MBK be limited in the sense that he only has 3350, but they'll have no AWP unless body glass cannons.
Yeah.
That's not an optimal buy. G2, a team that depends on the AWPs, of course. They are buying, but what do you make of this?
It's a G2 buy.
I mean, it's not the worst, right? They still got full rifles. But
Yeah. The one issue, obviously, is that they're going to run into the fact that they obviously don't have as much utility as Astralis have on their side. So, holding on to all of that utility for long enough could be proving to be difficult. Also, MBK with the scout. We've seen, when Fallen picked up a scout on Cobble, for instance, in their matchup, he was able to do a ton of damage with it. But definitely not optimal. I feel like if you're not going to opt in for the 4th ban in the previous round, you might as well save another one, get ops in your hands, especially on the side of Kenny S, right? Because at this point, you're not necessarily going to make any massive dents into the economy of Astralis.
Let's see what they can get done with this buy. Certainly enough to get the kills individually, but as you say, utility limited. Oh, MBK spots the head, but he goes for Glaive instead. 2 shots, both connect. Goes in for more. And even though he goes down to Zipex, he's still done a hell of a lot of damage, 9 HP. So this buy seems to be working out very well for G2 so far. Again, Astralis are in the bomb site, but with the bomb dropped towards main and Kenny already on the flank, dupreeh will have no idea. Completely blindsided, tagged down low. No kill to come through for Kenny, but that damage will surely solidify this round. It's a 3-on-2. Both players of Astralis really tagged up and caught in the open. Device needs to grab this kill, but Kenny's found his number. Now dupreeh's the last man up. They know he's on the site. They can chase him down, but they'll play passive. And Shox grabs a shot from heaven as well. So G2, 7 rounds, it pays off.
Yeah. That's the second time that's gone the way for G2, and obviously, you would expect them to kind of be experts at these kind of wonky buys. And it's the one thing I hate, because I'm pretty much the opposite of a fan of those kind of buys that G2 like to do, but they continuously make it work, so it's hard to argue against it, right?
It's really annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're like a very unique example of it, because most teams try this fall flat on their face all the time.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I completely agree. Nothing to add to that.
Well, MBK going to stick with that scout, as it worked out so nicely in the previous round. Doesn't want to necessarily throw away too much cash. And a lot more utility to work with this time around. But Astralis with a bit of a different approach, much quicker presence towards Squeaky here. Opening the door, see if they can have some of the French players move about. Shoxy seems pretty unfazed by that, though.
This is the same default Astralis ran a few rounds ago, in the sense of they don't have aggressive beat control. They just have Zipex kind of lurking around in middle, making sure Shox doesn't get aggro in mid and push down, or we have a counter boost. This is eventually going to end up in a late round A take, assuming the picks go their way, or if there are no picks at all, Astralis will still probably go for a standard take. But it was around that Device got a pick where they went for the same setup down through middle. This time, without that pick, we're going to have a fast rotation from a 3rd player through the highway. That will be Shox. So G2 ready and waiting for this push that's about to unfold. And Magis has found the pick. This time it's on A. Body dead. So G2 now they've got to fight back a man disadvantage. Shox is going to be needed to come up through the highway. Apex playing for retake, but we've got one player committed to the site. It's going to be Kenny with the AWP, but who else would you want here? Holding the angle. Molotov going to force him off of that position. Now he's got a big job to do. Flashes through. He gets blinded right as Magis comes out, but dupreeh will go down anyway. Apex defending as they double up towards the back of the site. Maybe more, but Glaive turns it round with 1 kill of his own, and Device will also chime in. Kenny's the last man up on the site, but with 15 seconds left, they've got to get rid of him. He lands another shot. Almost a no-scope, but Zipex gets rid of him. And now the bomb going down in the 2v1. MBK retaking with a pistol and a scout.
It's not going to last for long, and looked pretty okay there for G2 for a while, actually. Astralis very slow to get onto the bomb site, allowing for Kenny to pick up multiple frags. Definitely within a chance, and you could see G2 kind of taking a different approach as to how they wanted to deal with that A-take, not bailing out on the site this time around, just sticking true. Doesn't quite pan out this time either, but yeah. Astralis seemingly finding some gaps in the defense of G2 here.
I'm impressed with Astralis. They've clearly done some work on this map there. They seem very on point, at least with their aim as well today. So, yeah, so far looking good. 8-7 very possible, with G2 having a bit of a mixed buy on the last round of the half. And Body already just going to be executed on the forklift. Dupree going to go down, and Matches will follow as well. So Astralis definitely taking some casualties here. G2, again, making it work with limited weaponry.
Yeah, that is their forte. So a man down on the side of Astralis. At least they have tagged up Kenny a little bit, so he's not going to be able to take the most aggressive stance. Still, though, a lot of ground to be covered for the Danes. As they don't really have any map control at all. We'll be able to peer into mid here with Glaive. And judging from their setup right now, it's looking to be an A-split. But a lot of this is going to come down to what Glaive is able to find here.
The issue is Apex is going to fight Glaive or at least spot him, so Glaive's attention will be drawn towards A, but that means Kenny can peek out. You can see Glaive spotted him. Yep. Now Kenny goes for the fight, but Glaive is aware, or seems to be. Yes, he is. Takes down Kenny, so a nice bait from Apex, at least on the site, but Glaive is one step ahead. The in-game leader of Astralis definitely aware of what's going on, and he'll follow up with another headshot. Apex going down, and now they start to wrap this A site from the highway, but Shox, he's up on the high pot. Does fall down after only 1 kill, and that leaves MBK again for the retake, but he's not going to get it done. Glaive will get the 3K that round, and Astralis, 8 on the T side. I'd say that's pretty good.
That's very impressive, honestly. Yes, we do know Cache to be a T-sided map, but still, considering the kind of the lack of practice on the map that we kind of just have to assume that they have, and definitely a lack of playing official LAN games on it. I'd say that's definitely worthwhile, especially considering the fact that they did lose Pistol. And they obviously opted to do this wonky force buy 2 times in a row.
Yeah, they went 0-4 down before we saw Rifles.
Yeah. So, you know, all things considered, a lot of weapon rounds being won by Astralis, and that's probably what enhances the impression that we were sitting with, that Astralis are doing a pretty good job. That's really fun to see. We even got to see a couple of connections with that SSG, even though Magic is having a bit of a rough time otherwise, now sitting at 6 frags at the half, but, you know, contributed with 4 assists.
At the end of the day, if you're winning the game, it doesn't matter about the scoreboard.
Exactly.
Astralis leading right now into the second half, and you know, they've been doing great on the Rifles, as you say, but now the question is, if they take this pistol round on the CT side, this could spiral out of control for G2, who are struggling to pick up rifle rounds.
Yeah, it could be. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is that for many teams who don't necessarily are too well practiced or have too much, I guess, tenure on Cache, they tend to have pretty rough CT sides. It's not necessarily the easiest map to navigate around, simply because the T sides have so much room and so much potential to find opening picks. Well, basically on any part of the map, which can spread out the defense quite thin.
Well, look at this for Astralis on the pistol. They're running full retake. Heavy on mid, heavy on B, but only Zipex towards the car. He's got the smoke as well. Even Molly for Glaive. They've single-handedly put this entire setup for a retake. Molly towards the back of the box. That will be for quad when G2 get into their post plants, but Zipex is just playing for a spot to try and get a pick and fall back. Of course, the Deagle of MBK attempts to challenge this USP, but everyone else from G2 will safely cross to the site. They can go for an open plant if they use that smoke on Body, or if he just holds the angle. And now Astralis know what's up. So 40 seconds on the clock. Astralis set up for this retake. Let's see exactly where this Molotov goes, but it should be for the position that Shox and Body sit currently, except they throw a very late smoke. That will make this round a lot more complicated. They could even flash through this if they want to get aggressive with these Glocks. Device opens up, and there's the flash from G2. They burst through, but there's so many players there. Shox with 1. Apex follows up with a double, and while Dupree trades, it's still in the advantage for G2 right now. They're sitting pretty. Finally, Device comes back in with another frag, but Shox is just being a nuisance with his Glock, just delaying Astralis to get on that bomb, which they so desperately need to do. Finally, Device dead, and Dupree, while he's got the kit, there's just no time left. Great round from G2, and I like the use of utility as well.
That's very well done, and Astralis taking a bit too long for my taste to set up for that retake. Yeah, as you mentioned, obviously big difference as to where the Molotov lands. It has 2 really potential places it could go, and that's either behind forklift or quad boxes, but given Glaive's kind of entry point towards that retake, which is from CT spawn, it kind of has to use it towards that forklift. And unfortunately, it doesn't really amount to anything at all. Astralis having definitely at least a game plan for what they wanted to do and how they wanted to set that up. It just unfortunately doesn't work out in the end. And G2, they have no interest in making any sort of money in this round. 3 Galils, 2 AKs, and honestly, I'm not opposed to this buy at all.
No.
They just want to secure things as easily as possible. Also gotten, you know, the mandatory Molotovs and whatnot to deal with this. But Sipnix finding that first frag does pose a bit of a threat to the G2 attack.
Luckily, it was responded, though. MBK catches device crossing between the forklift and the site. Sipnix now trying to force another frag if he can, but G2 not too overextended. They're still holding on to the B main area. Body's doing exactly that. MBK is going to double down, actually, so he takes down Magis in the same position, caught on the cross. Finally, the smoke going to go out there, and MBK, he's just tearing them apart with the Glil. It may not be profitable, but it certainly is going to win them the round. Xyp9x finally replies from the back of the site, and MBK, 4 kills for him. Dupree's the only armored player for Astralis in this round, and ironically enough, he's the other one on the other side of the map. So there's no ace for MBK unless he goes on the hunt. But Dupree probably just going to hold on to this armor for another round.
Yeah. I'm very unlikely to see MBK going out hunting as well. I wouldn't expect that, at least, considering they've already lost 2 players, and losing 3 wouldn't be beneficial, especially when you haven't built up any sort of extra money with an SMG. In any case, though, G2 doing what they need to do, and I guess they had the similar approach to this anti-eco as Astralis did, just kind of an opposite way of it, seeing how G2 did win the first round, our first half pistol as well. But we saw Astralis kind of just sitting around, waiting for somebody from G2 to go aggressive and hope to punish them. Same concept being applied by G2 there, and 2 of them lead to easy openings for G2 after Sipnix finds the first frag.
Yeah, and the ace does come through eventually for MBK as well, so can add that to the tally.
Not bad.
9-8 now, so Astralis, while they had a great T side, we've yet to see them really show too much here, but let's give them time. We've got rifles coming up after this eco. A single flash for Xyp9x, maybe a pop into this A main position, but not much presence there, or any at all for G2 just yet, means that Astralis really won't get too much of this. Instead, they'll set up slow, and I like this as well, because they'll delay the flash inside of A main, just in case G2 don't have control. But Shox has spotted this. A molly towards Forklift has forced them all to the corner. If Shox wide peaks, he has all the info to work with. There's one for him at the very least, and he knows Astralis are heavy here, so we're going to see G2 just walk into the B-bomb site. MBK again with the Glil opens up, and Shox, he can go down here realistically. He can just fight to the death, try and make some money, because this round is over.
Yeah. He's going to come back for seconds. Struggling a little bit to find Sipnix, but does win out the duel in the end. Benefit of having 30 bullets. Well, the rest of the Astralis team not really keen on letting him go. Ooh. Shoxy does manage to hold off the offensive from Dupree and Magisk Boy. I guess it's just Magisk now, isn't it?
Yeah, just Magisk.
Yeah, he's become a man. Magisk man.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. Just stick with Magisk for now, but no Krieg on the CT side. He may struggle in that sense. The org is garbage, as most people know.
Yeah.
When will that be a meta?
God knows. I thought that like before they even started fiddling around with the AUG, it had its niche place. Like for instance, non-op players who played Nuke like played Yard on Nuke on the CT side, for instance, it was great to great for you to peek towards silo, etc.
I think the issue is it's similar to the Mag 7 in the sense that it's great for a position, but it's not a versatile gun for all positions. You can't retake with an AUG the same way you can't retake with a Mag 7 typically. So I feel like it struggles, whereas the M4 covers everything.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, that is definitely a problem, obviously, and how unfamiliar it is, obviously, with having to scope in and whatnot.
Well, B push here for the T side now. Glaive and Dupree locking it down. Rifle's not finding too much effect on the G2 side, but MBK again with a Glil. He's fired off another bullet. Takes down Dupree with it as well, and Astralis have rotated the second player into position. So device towards the CT spawn with no smoke placed down just yet. G2 got to be very worried about that position because MBK's trapped here with the bomb. Potentially could be boosted out or throw it back up the vents, but really Astralis have these players pinned. Information towards A isn't too heavy, but there's no one there from G2. Apex has snuck through. Device maybe flashing through the smoke, but no, Glaive's going to go for the wide face on the left side of the box, so he takes down Apex. And MBK, well, he will respond again, this time with the M4. Astralis still have control. As long as Glaive doesn't get picked here, this round isn't too worrying, but now it is. Kenny's opened it up. Magis does take him down in response from the top side of Heaven, but MBK's on the spot. Plant can come in, fakes it out at least once. Nades go over, but Zipnix goes for the fight, and luckily Nade does kill him, because MBK turned that into a 1v1 at one point.
Yeah, MBK is having a hell of a game right now.
Yeah.
Finding tons of important frags. And yeah, even though that doesn't lead to a round win for G2, it does limit the economy of Astralis pretty heavily, and they're going to have to reinvest a lot. You can see that already. Not too much money left on their end, and they still haven't bought up on everyone. So, job well done by the French veteran. Well, remains to be seen. Really excited to see what Astralis can actually bring to this CT side. It's obviously the big question mark going into this match was what Astralis actually had looked into, figured out, and so on. They're actually going to take a tactical pause here right after winning the first buy round.
And I'm a bit late here, but I just remembered as you said that the thing Zonic was showing them earlier looked like their pistol setup, because it was very heavy on B, and I said it was pointing out CT spawn to B, and that's exactly what Astralis did. They did the retake setup. They had one player on a car and they ran a B play. So yeah, actually, I think that was right. I think that was exactly what they were doing. So Astralis, yeah, they've got some preparation, right? They had some documents there on that tablet, so maybe they've got more than we expected coming into this game. They've certainly made it a close one, 9-10 at the start of this half. We got the Krieg on the hands of MBK, so looking to respond to Magis after his performance with it in the first. Although Apex, he's the one to kick things off. Boost up in middle, takes that first frag. Orb still scoped, with that smoke starting to run out. Device has to be very careful.
So some entry fragger on, entry fragger action. Apex comes out on top of that. MBK has picked up the Krieg. He's ready to get rocking and does find Device there in mid. So that's the op gone. Also follows up with the frag onto Zipnix there as he's busy dealing with Apex. But in the meantime, speaking of being busy, Shox has made his way out onto the A bomb site, finds the one defender left in Magisk, and that's going to send the bomb rotating over towards A. You can see the rest of the G2 squad was set to go on that A bomb site, going towards Glaive, but with Shoxy clearing out A, pretty easy decision for G2 to make, and Glaive doesn't really have too much hope of doing anything this round except for holding on to that Colt.
If G2 let him, though, because this is the reset. Not only do G2 have money, but also they know Astralis won't in the upcoming rounds. They want to remove any possibility of these rifles being in play in the future, because Astralis, they're gonna be down on pistols. You know, $1,400 OS bonus. Shox hunts down that kill as well, but Glaive gave away his position by shooting at MBK up in B main, and now here we see the money for Astralis, or lack of. Only a max of 2,400, and that's just on Zipix.
Yeah, it's not an optimal situation to be in, and obviously they do need a bit of utility as well to be able to hold off potential executes from G2 and so on. So it's going to be Nico for them. Dupree deciding to opt in for a ZZ and some light kevs. Same thing with Magisk, except a PT50 instead.
Relatively passive buy from Astralis. So where did Device just get that kill? Was it through the mid wall? Oh my god, it was. That's impressive. I'll give them that. But yeah, passive buy again from Astralis. We saw this after they lost pistol in this half, right? They hardly invested, just a couple of pistols and no armor apart from on Dupree. So it's nice to see that at the very least playing it safe.
Yeah,
I think it was through the corner of white box as well.
Yeah, I think that's the only place where we can get kind of the through the wall, but not necessarily the damage reduction that would take away enough damage to prevent a headshot kill. Shox shooting through squeaky doors here, doing the standard Molotovs. Zipnix's going to smoke it off. Not really sure if that was necessary, but at least they're going to know that somebody is there.
I think the thing is, if he didn't smoke that off, he'd have to move out into the open, and that's where Shox can just peek him, wide peek him from the squeaky door. So while it does give away his position, at least it allows him to maintain it, although only for a little bit of time, because Apex is on the hunt. 2 kills out onto the site. Dupree and Glaive is now all that stands between Astralis and, well, having to give up this round and go for that next eco. G2 bombed down and pretty much a guarantee at this point. It's all about damage for Astralis. If they take away a couple of guns, that's not too bad. Glaive saves a Krieg.
Yeah.
Can throw that over to Magis if need be.
It's definitely a nice little package to bring into the next round. Dupree's going to hang around, see if he finds any retreating G2 players, but They're holding steady for now. Wouldn't be too surprised if we saw them rotating as a group as well, or pushing out from the site. Here we go. They're not going to back out in the direction of any of the remaining Astralis players. So they're going to be able to hold on to a ZZ, a Smoke, Molly, Light Kev, and a Krieg.
Just your average combination.
Yeah, I know. It's completely standard. I'm assuming that thing is going to get dropped right off to Magic Boy here, even though they're not going for a buy.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Do you throw it to Dupree, who has armor, or do you throw it to Magis, who doesn't have armor, and then does he buy armor? Because he's only got 2350, so if he buys armor, he's on 1700. Yeah, it's going to go to Dupree. Interesting enough. Magis makes a trade for a CZ instead.
Yeah. I kind of would like to see Magic with it, simply because he has the most familiarity with the weapon.
But the issue is, if he then goes for the buy, he won't have utility moving forward in the next buy round.
I wouldn't want him to buy anything up with it, but just rocking it with, yeah, glass cannon style. It has a scope, you know, it's pretty much an op, right? Isn't that how it works?
I don't know. I don't use it. You tell me. Glaive on B alone.
Yeah.
Headshot angle for the Deagle. Not too bad of a position, but Kenny scoped, and yeah, it's a hard fight to take if you're Glaive. He's about to find that out. Goes for the shot. Apex tagged, but Kenny still gets away with his life. And that's always a threat. Now the Molotov comes down. It's actually going towards Heaven, so they haven't negated the problem just yet. There it is. There's the molly on the site. So Glaive still needs to get something done, but he's forced out into the open. Dupree comes for that rotation to try and find a pick, but Kenny's one step ahead. Hits the shot with the AWP. And Astralis again, 2 pistols against 5 rifles. I feel like this round's over.
It does feel like it. So Nick says managed to get a little bit of a consolation prize there as Shox goes down on top of Boost. But obviously everyone on the side of G2 know the whereabouts of Sipnix at this point.
Little update for those interested. FaZe just 16-1 Cloud9 on cash, we've just been told.
There you have it.
As you do, you know. Maybe they could have done that at the major.
I'm really hoping, and for those who want a real treat, the second map is going to be Inferno as well.
Ooh, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah.
But of course, so is this game, so stick around.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I have a sense that FaZe are going to absolutely trounce Cloud9.
Yeah, so you don't need to watch that. Stick around where
Exactly. This is where the excitement lies. G2 make it to 13 rounds now, and it's starting to get a little bit shaky for Astralis now. They're going to have the money to buy up in the following round, but at that point, they have to start stringing rounds together. Otherwise, G2 are getting dangerously close to match point and then going into overpass. I guess, to be fair, we mentioned the fact that we didn't have too high expectations from Astralis. And honestly, given what we've seen from their T side, not too bad.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, you know, we've not seen anything from their CT side yet, which is the only issue. But that's kind of to be expected, right? You know, on paper, they shouldn't be taking this map. They should be G2s. If Astralis can get a few more CT rounds, that'd be nice. Just, you know, show off and
build some confidence on the map in themselves and what they've, you know, what they potentially might have prepared.
But we shouldn't be too shocked at this score.
Oh, no, absolutely not. It should be very expected for G2 to take this map. I'm more excited about the prospect of Astralis actually, you know, picking, you know, showing up for the fight, really. So, and so far, you know, nothing to scoff at, but Kenny with the cheeky...
That was that spawn
cheeky
shot.
wallbang, yep.
Just missed it. Too violent for
the
TV.
The updated body wallbang.
Yeah, device dead straight away. So G2 already off with a very balanced pick. Nothing Astralis can do about that. Quite literally, in fact.
Really wish we had like a face cam on device in that scenario.
He's actually gotten up and walked away, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him at all. Sipsix, though, knows that it's not all good in the neighborhood, so he's going to venture out aggressively into A main. Does pick up a fair bit of information off of that kind of a play, which could potentially allow his teammate and Magic to bail away from the bomb site. Not going to be the case, but he remains within a pretty aggressive position here. Could catch some of the G2 players off guard. Kenny going to be the first to get a taste as he slowly walks into the angle the second Zipnix bails out.
Oh, no, Kenny! No. He shot his teammate in the head. That's not what he expected. At least Apex makes up for it, but G2, not what they wanted.
That definitely isn't. That does stagger the push, but a push nonetheless coming in from G2. Magic not able to find an early kill immediately, but does find Apex eventually.
He almost killed Shox as well. Give him a break. Stop shooting. He's going to kill his entire team. As long as the enemy team goes down with him, I guess it's worth it. But look at the HP. Nade onto Shocks from Dupree. Glaive follows up, catching the cross. Now it's the Krieg. What could MBK show with this gun? I expect nothing from the Krieg, but we can see, yeah, no, it is nothing. Dupree saves the day. And a blunder from G2. I say if Kenny doesn't hit that shot, maybe they win the round. But
to be fair, pretty nice shot, but I don't know. Could you potentially blame on... Yeah, there we go. And then obviously follows that up with a pretty nice headshot.
You can't blame him, though, for
no,
that.
that's 100% on body.
Yeah, you can't blame
Kenny
him.
has held an angle for a long time, and it's kind of just the golden rule. You don't walk in front of your upper holding an angle. That's just... You're doing that on, your own risk.
Yeah. Well, Astralis have been given a lifeline now due to that, so they're back in the game with a possibility of taking this far. The issue is, again, we've reached the same issue from earlier this half. If G2 get this round, it's a reset to Astralis' economy, and they have no money. Obviously, a bit of saved cash, but nothing too heavy, so it's very important the Danes pick this one up. Otherwise, it's 14-10, and G2 have a bye. Astralis don't have cash to go with, so probably game over pretty shortly after that, but Astralis certainly have an opportunity now, and they need to do what they can.
All they need is for Body to run in front of Kenny a couple of more times.
6 more times, to be exact.
Yeah. Well, for now, tag damage being done, and there we go. Dupree finds the first opening and bails out events as he gets mollied. That's a good start for Astralis. They have given up mid-control. Both teams actually being seemingly all right with not necessarily keeping full tabs on what's going on in mid. G2, started out with heavy mid-focus, but eventually started to wane off of that. Now more heavy A presence on the Astralis side. Obviously, getting that first pick allows them to do, well, spread themselves not thin, but thick in that sense. But Dupree goes down. Septix, though, able to find Shocks with the aggressive push from A main there with an MP9.
The issue is it's just Glaive left on B, right?
Yeah.
So even if Astralis, are in a 3v3, G2 and now can get into a post plant on the B bomb site. A difficult site to retake, especially with limited utility that Astralis do have. Device has the AWP scoped on the site, but MBK shouldn't be walking into this. And even if he does, it's AWP v Automatical, if you want to put it like that. MBK, man on the site with the Krieg. Open plant, I think that is. So G2 in good positions for the post plant. Yep. That's all down to the utility usage. Device can smoke off main. That's a big one as well. Flash can follow through, and that can burst these 2 players out of lower. This could be a good retake for Astralis, but Kenny has the angle. Magic's dead, and Kenny reflashing himself back into the same spot to go for it again. They try and wallbang him, but a bit optimistic from Astralis. They will have to save, and that's the reset. That's the issue. They need to save these guns if they want to buy in the next round, but no, MBK chases them down. He knows how important those weapons are to Astralis. And Zipnix, yes, he'll get away, but that's the only gun saved for Astralis.
It indeed is, and there's not going to be any potential to actually buy up behind that as well. This is what you mentioned at the start of the round, the reset coming in from Astralis. And they're going to ask for a tactical timeout here. They want to talk things over, because obviously you don't want to let G2 get to match point. You don't want to let them have five rounds to potentially close this out on. Well, it's a tough decision, because obviously we haven't necessarily seen too much out of Astralis CT side at this point. They haven't had too many buy rounds really to try to show what they're worth. So, you can make the argument for that, since we lack evidence of them potentially being able to win, force buys and that kind of stuff, they might have to rely on as good weaponry and utility as possible, and therefore letting G2 up to match point. But, well, from the looks of it right now, from our point of view, we are seeing an investment made by Astralis. So they're going all in. It's now or never, and it's not the most impressive buy. There is a UMP and a Colt on the floor that you can't see currently. But, Colt, excuse me, that is an AK instead. There we go. Weapons acquired, some utility, but obviously massive advantages for G2.
Oh, and an awkward spot for Magis. This is with a UMP, and if they molly this, he's dead. He's dead before the molly hits the ground. MBK more ready than he was, and the UMP at that position, you're never going to get the kill onto boost.
Also, very strange to take that position when he's completely alone as well in mid. Doesn't have anyone to back him up from highway either. Sipnix, though, will find Shocks once again in A, so equal in numbers at least.
It's very possible in this position. If G2, maybe they get this pick here onto Zipnix because Apex is pushed up, but if they don't, it's very possible they just walk into B now, because they know Astralis are on pistols and armor. They know they're on, maybe SMGs, but the one rifle that they are aware is in play is on the A site. Assuming it hasn't rotated, G2, B site's going to look very, very nice for them. MBK maybe faking that out, but for now, G2 making a bit of a risk and walking into the site with that gun. Luckily enough, because Astralis only have one gun, they've relied it to hold A solo. So assuming G2 can trade their way into the site, it still should be theirs, but it's all now on the shoulders of Zipnix. If he can step up and get a couple of kills, maybe it goes their way, but Kenny wallbang straight away. The one gun doesn't seem to make too much of a difference, and Astralis already lost out on this round. They should probably just hold on to the arm once again.
Yeah. I know we saw G2 actually, trapping Astralis into making a bit of a mistake in a similar scenario in the round where Kenny S has his saved op. G2 buy into it, and obviously Kenny S goes aggressive on B, finds the first pick, and then everyone bails out. So maybe G2 are thinking, Astralis have deployed a similar strategy. They have basically stacked up everyone on one bomb site with the or on the opposite side of where the rifle is, but that Zipnix will eventually rotate over to everyone else like they did.
Yeah.
So A side being the option to go for there. And it does work out, even though Zipnix remains. Well, Dupree finds a neat little kill. Maybe that bomb explosion throws the weapon a little bit closer to him.
Yeah, it does actually. Or he got a Krieg. Yeah, he pushed up into main.
Yeah.
So he got a Krieg and he swapped it out for an AK.
It's not about
choice.
that MBK life. To be fair, you can't really fault MBK. He's been doing pretty well for himself. 27 kills, although I will say most of them have been with a non-Krieg. But he's been doing really well for himself. And it's definitely been needed because I have to say Astralis putting up more of a fight than I initially expected.
Definitely. So the issue is, again, it's just like you said a couple of rounds prior, it's just the money for Astralis. They've not been on top of the economy. They've not been able to be on top of the economy. Constant resets from G2 and great control on the T side as well, as we expected from this French roster.
Yeah.
And that's just getting the better of Astralis. They don't have the rifles. They don't have the AWP or even the double up setup that they could run on this map. It's definitely a limiting factor. So, not a huge surprise. They had a great T side, which was nice to see. But so far, the CT side, they've just not been on the guns. And there's only so far you can get with force buys. Device, though, does open up this round. Scout shot to Shocks, and a push from Magis, maybe a bit too aggressive as MBK catches him out, but a response found with the Scout once again. The thing is, Astralis man advantage, still trying to force kills, and G2 already holding his Kenny S with another frag, and more damage done by Device. He is getting a lot with such limited weaponry. Apex even caught in middle by Dupree. Glaive now has a gun to pick up, and even though Device is dropped on the site, it's a 2v2. They could do this. G2 take the bomb to the site, and Kenny S catches the flick to Dupree. Maybe a bit too preemptive on the push. Should have waited for his teammate. As Glaive gets spammed through the smoke, Kenny holds the angle, and with one flashbang that will instantly give away his position, no kit and 40 HP with 2 players on the A bomb site, G2 have this one in the bag. Glaive is going to have to do something incredible. Boost up, spotted. They now know where he is. Smokes can go out as well as flashbangs, and Glaive starting to wrap Forklift. Does have a bit of a gap in the smoke to work with, but G2 not getting that aggressive, so he's not really given an option. Flash over the top. Kenny's going to be turned around, playing anti-flash, and Body will finish off the kill. So G2 take it 16-10. Expected victory on the first map, but it's not over for Astralis. They've got Overpass to worry about up next.
Yeah, Overpass should give them a much better starting point in terms of having the potential to grab a map here and take it onto Inferno. So, yeah, no reason to hang your heads if you're an Astralis fan. But G2 doing what is expected of them, and that's nice to see. Obviously, we talked about Shoxy initially and how his hand injury might limit his performance. Didn't have the greatest of games, but it doesn't really matter when you have guys like MBK just racking up kill after kill after kill.
Yeah, looking very good. At least G2 looking strong on the second half especially, which was nice to see. Obviously, we know them for their T-sides, especially on this map of Cash, but
yeah.
No surprise to see them take that victory. I think most people would agree. Overpass, I'm still convinced. With Astralis impressing me at least on their first half of Cash, I'm still convinced they're going to take Overpass. I definitely think there's an opportunity for them there. But obviously G2 now leading with a 1-map advantage. They've got 2 opportunities to close out this series and take it 2-0.
Yeah. So teams are going to go their respective ways to talk things over and prepare for that second map as we get to watch the highlights of G2 picking up the first map. And definitely some highlights here. We saw an ace coming out from MBK as well during this. Saw some cheeky wall banks and whatnot. But it definitely feels like, having watched Astralis obviously in the past, it's been a bit of a shaky ride for them, especially with Device being sidelined for a couple of months, having Dupree being the main opera and whatnot. It's nice to seeing them being back to basics in that sense.
Yeah, and now obviously that role going back to Device, I feel like that's a good decision. Obviously Dupree on the AWP was only temporary, but you know, he had a great performance at Blast on that AWP when they had a stand-in, but I feel like it was only one event. You know, Device is a sick orb, but there's no reason to take him off that gun.
That's pretty accurate. And Device is one of those players who isn't necessarily too big of a fan of actually opping, which is funny enough considering how good he is with a weapon. But I think, you know, they're always going to be better off with Device on the op.
Definitely a safe bet. Kenny on the AWP, that's a bit questionable that round, but he made up for it with the others. MBK not happy. But a good win nonetheless from G2, and moving forward, you know, I'm so excited to see what this G2 roster can do, because as we were saying before the game, you know, this is a roster that keeps going, or you know, a form of players that keeps going, okay, you know, this is when we're going to become a top team. This is when we're going to win this event, and they keep reaching a level and then just falling off massively for a couple of months and then coming back. And I do want to see them succeed. I want to see this team actually go far, and hopefully here at StarSeries, they can get into the playoffs. They can get deep into the event. I assume playoffs is a possibility for this team, a likelihood, in fact. But how far they can get into it, that's a whole nother question.
It definitely is. And as we watch the map's best players, we mentioned MBK having a great start to this series, followed by his teammate Kenny S. Obviously, to be expected almost from the French sniper.
It's actually 22 team kills.
Yeah.
Fun unknown fact.
I'm actually curious if they revoked one kill, or if that's either
Surely
if it's like 21 opponents, one body, or not. Well, in any case, showing good form in that first map, and G2 are going to need that going into Overpass as well, because we do have Astralis as, you know, tiny favorites going into Overpass. I would say we wouldn't be too surprised if they take it to Inferno. But I will say there's a bigger chance of G2 taking Overpass than I thought Astralis taking Cash.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's a safe bet, right? G2 play a little more than Astralis do play Cash, as you highlighted before the game. But we'll be waiting for Overpass to come up next. I think we're going to be throwing it to a short break before that, so stick with us, and we'll be back for Overpass very shortly.
Bet online esports betting. Dota, CSGO, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and many more. Bet on tournament matches or in-game events while viewing them live. Deposit using money, bitcoins, or even skins. Join LootBet now. Use the code you see here when you deposit and grab your bonus.
Don't know how to build a team from scratch or find good teammates? DreamTeam.gg, the ultimate team building platform. Find and connect with new players, coaches and teams. Manage and monetize your team. Get on fast track to advance from novice to amateur and, if desired, to professional gamer. Join DreamTeam.gg today.